So everyone's got to see something like that and think, well, I can learn a bit from that. I can learn a bit of changing adaptability and things when I'm actually doing a bike fit too. I would hope. But if you're actually quite focused in, you do it in a certain way all the time, I'm not so sure. I mean, cycling, you can see there's a good chance of trauma. That's the main probable cause of that I see cyclists in. But as far as a bike fit, it could be a poor bike fit's giving them pain, or improper riding technique. We all know this. And so you adjust the bike to help the body, and then you need to adapt the body to help the bike. And it's that knitting together is where I think it's really, really important. And I think Phil, next lecture, is going to talk about teamwork. I think teamwork really is the key to a good bike fit. Yeah, you need a lot of people involved in it, and performance is clearly the aim. Injury prevention needs to start right from the very beginning. It's not something you've done once you start the bike fit. So, I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs. We all know the bike fit process. But the aim is to be, comfortable, efficient, standardised and repeatable. That sounds much more scientific, doesn't it? Standardised and repeatable. But can it be totally standardised and repeatable? When isn't it? And that's kind of what I want you guys to discuss with me. Is there a bit of a grey area somewhere in the middle? It's got to involve the cyclist. It's not just you showing off your skills. And I think it's got to be based on sound scientific evidence, but really it comes down to experience. And that's why I like working with these guys, is because they could almost fit within 5 minutes, but that 95% they can find the first 5 minutes is great, but it's that extra 5% they take 2.5 hours later to do that makes the difference. Yeah, and I think experience is really the key. And that's something that really is difficult to train, because you just learn it over years. And I've been with them long enough, I'm getting a little bit of it rubbed off on me, but not lots. Yeah, I'm still way behind. Yeah, so it's good, I think. And the more the team talks, and the more we all talk together, the more we kind of get the idea of the experience. You've got to look at all these multiple factors. Yeah, it's a whole plethora of different things we're looking for, rather than just scientific data. If you take two individual twins, both same dimensions, statistics, yeah, you obviously won't fit the same bike for them. They're very different people, they've got different histories. And similarly, when you get injured, the bike before injury and the bike afterwards shouldn't really be set up exactly the same. I would use the bike to assist you to get back from injury. It's a fluid sort of process. And I'll keep saying that, and I'll keep saying that, and I'll keep saying that. It's a fluid process. So I think certainly in the last 5-10 years, scientifically, things are really advanced, yeah? And this repeatable process has come in. We've got all these new systems which I'm sure we'll hear a lot more over the week. 2 days? Sorry, is it going to be a week? Could be a week. It's enough to talk about. But we've got to look at all these factors, and not just purely as Jill said, just numbers. Was it Phil said? Numbers. Yeah, because numbers alone won't predict anyone's human behaviour and adaptation purely. So we say we want to be scientific, we want to be repeatable, we want to try and replace trial and error, but really it is a little bit suck it and see it sometimes. Yeah, you get a basic scientific principle, you adapt it, and it's a continuing, evolving process. That bit in yellow, I've already repeated 3 times, I'll repeat it another 6 or 7 times on the lecture. Phil's favourite word, well, it is in 2011, I think. Stochastic, I'd never heard it before he mentioned it to me. I think it's a really good description of a predictable action and a random element, because that's what we are. We're taking predictable scientific data, and there's all this random elements going on, and we've got to match the two together. And that's where artistic and science can work together, the same way as the team can work together to try and get the best fit. I think also, if we're a bit too scientific in our approach, as Confucius says, if you've got a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. Yeah, and we try and be a bit too regimented in everything we're trying to fit. So, think wider. When we look, like we're looking here at this cyclist here, we should, if they're a mate of ours or a familiarity of ours, we'll recognise that shadow. Same as someone's walking or running to you and it's just a silhouette, you'd recognise them. Yeah, so what are those cues that you're seeing that makes you recognise something? It's the same thing when you're doing a bike fit. You look and you see, like we're all looking, and we're looking for things we need to assess for the fit. But this thoughtful looking of what else we're seeing and the familiarities of what we're looking for and seeing, that's the art, I think. And that is something I don't know what it is, and maybe someone here can tell us. It's that je ne sais quoi, yeah? The mojo I've used here. It's, yeah, it's quite sophisticated. It's built in here somewhere. It's subconscious. And I think the more experienced you get, which is why these guys are completely screwed up, the more you try and think, what is this mojo? What is this something else? Yeah? Because you know there's something just missing. So, 3 wise men, got 3 fitters, all very experienced fitters. They all arrive at 3 different fits. Why is that? Is one because one shouts better than the other and he thinks he's better than the others? Is it because they've heard the other 2 haven't worked and therefore, but this fit will work better? Or is it just that they just have different opinions? Yeah? Opinion is just not science. But a cycle fit definitely relies upon opinion. I think we'd all agree with that. Yeah? So that confuses our punters quite a bit. That confuses our clients. Yeah? Because if they're hearing one thing from one person and one thing from another, our whole career is kind of just banded just from 2 people saying 2 different things. Yeah? So who do they start to believe? So I think if we start speaking the same language, then everyone will be understanding that a cycle fit is potentially, or a bike fit is potentially a good thing, rather than just an expensive extra. So I think in the sale of a bike fit, it's important we talk the same language, otherwise we're just fighting. But I'm sure we'll fight sometime in the next couple of days. So this is the bit I enjoy, obviously, it's the body. And we're going to spend most of the time on that today, aren't we, I think? But every body has its kind of own idiosyncrasies, and you're born and you develop over time and change. I think it's one of your pictures, Phil, yeah? So, yeah, it's a custom body. Yeah, everything you do with a fit should be bespoke. Similarly, the body is very bespoke to that individual, and it's a changing thing. Certainly, I'm changing quite a bit. Yeah, so you've got to look at how that changes over time, same way with the fit. Statistics, there's very little out there. This is a really old paper saying that 85% of cyclists suffer with these type of injuries. Now, in a cohort, that's actually wrong, this is 350. But I have 350 patients that I've looked at over 10 years. I've done more, but these are the notes I just found. I found this sort of pie chart, if you like, of looking at lumbar and knee were way ahead of all the others. But does that really say that I see general cyclists? You're just seeing one of the cyclists I deal with, you know, so what would he be coming in with? Yeah? Or am I seeing a lot of people that are fit-related injuries? Yeah? So is it trauma? Is it, yeah?
I'd say that those numbers are almost completely reversed to that.
Yeah, exactly. So it just really depends, what's coming through. So when you read statistics in literature, yeah, it's all bullshit. Yeah, because it really just depends on what you see. Yeah, not complete bullshit, but certainly, I think a lot needs to be challenged. And what you see, if you see there's a lot of movement in that hip on the other side. Let's go back to that again. So we've just got a runner here. I think looking at somebody running before they look at on their bike shows an awful lot. There's a lot of pelvic movement going on here. And so I'd be thinking, well, when she's on a bike, what sort of control is going on here? There's no glute control. She's got what we call Trendelenburg gait. And hip is dropping on both sides. Is that obvious to people or not? Sorry?
You see a relationship.
It's a good clue what you think you're already going to see. Yeah, it's the same way as looking at somebody off the bike before you're going to see it. It gives you a clue, doesn't it? But sometimes, though, you see something and you think, well, if I just stop that at any point, this also looks like you've got a problem in the hip. But actually that's a technique they try and use. So a little bit like that first cyclist we saw, it's what technique are they needing to try and use? How dynamic are they on the bike? Yeah. So is too much movement around the pelvic area? Is it due to weak core, weak glutes and all the rest, like you think you might be seeing? Or is it actually just poor technique? And this is where, again, it becomes a bit of a woolly science with us physios, because we think, oh yeah, there's lots of movement, so we'll go in and do the core, and we'll go and do some lumbar spine or SI joint mobilisation and things like that. Yeah, and we jump in things too quickly. Yeah, so don't try. It's the hammer and nail thing. Don't try and think you see what you see because you want to see it. Similarly with knee tracking, things like that. We've all seen the knee coming in on the power face, medial movement. Yeah, it's things you see all day long. So what's their problem? Why have they come to see you? Quite often it'll be patellofemoral pain, yeah? And you see this. And so with a fit, you're going to, all right, I'll adapt that. I'll put in, I'll look at their footbeds, maybe put some shims in or some wedges. Yeah, that should change the tracking alignment of that. And that will change the patellofemoral pain. But again, that's assumption, yeah? There's too many things cause patellofemoral pain. Yeah, sure. They might be doing that and the alignment might be going wrong and it might be causing the patella to track poorly. But is that the thing that's giving the patella the pain? And there's so many things to look at. This is just a brief list. This one here covers it all. There's a mosaic of pathologies. I did an MSc on patellofemoral pain and I looked at a group of painful athletes and a group of non-painful knees. And my MSc was absolute rubbish at the end of it because I assumed that everybody in the painful cohort had the same symptoms. And the non-painful had the same symptoms. But of course, it's rubbish. And most papers that are written these days take that principle because there are people like me, junior people doing an MSc, trying to get a paper out of it. And we try and listen to those results and think, well, science says, therefore it must be. And really, my biggest error there was I assumed and pigeonholed everybody to be the same. And every time you see somebody on a bike, they are not the same as anybody else you've seen. They're completely unique, completely bespoke. Yeah? And the more we start thinking of that, the better the fit will become. There's a lot to look at. Do you look at all that? And similarly, alignment might only be a secondary problem because just stretching the hip flexors out and sending them on their way might have saved them even having to do a bike fit. And you think, whoa, don't tell me that because I want the business, But if they sit all day, sit at work, sit on the way home, sit watch TV, sit, and then sit recreationally, they never ever stretch the hip flexors out. Yeah, so the load through the kneecap is just massive. So all the other factors that I've just shown on the last slide will quickly be relatively irrelevant if that is their bespoke problem. Yeah, that's just a problem I see a lot of, but again, it's not the answer for everybody. What other things are we looking at? Yeah? Do you look at all these aspects? Do you look at cardiovascular fitness? Do you look at whether it's temperature dependent? Yeah? How much a physiologist are we? I'm certainly not. And that's where Phil's the luckiest man in the group here, because he's got a fantastic team behind him. Yeah? And John Dennis, I think, is another one with a great team. Yeah? And you can just go, I need a bit of help here with the physiology. Need a doctor, need a physio, need a fitter, and we can all just talk together. I think it's really, really useful to do that, because nothing is always straightforward. And if you've got a little scratch at the back of your head, this doesn't seem quite right, then maybe, that's where you should stop and you should get some help, rather than think you can do everything. To me, it's a massive dynamic sport, and therefore it should be a dynamic process. And we fit on static machines and we watch them on turbos, and to me that's all too unrealistic. Yeah. And you listen to Mark Cavendish and everything now when he's talking, he hates graphs, he hates being tested and all the rest, and the only line he likes is crossing the finishing line. That's the line he likes. Yeah. And I think it's a great attitude, but I think it's also good to have the science as well. Yeah. So you need to understand the process and measure it somehow, but sadly most of it is fairly static. Yeah. So again, how scientifically valid is that? Yeah. I mean, look how far the nose is in front of the bars there. That's incredibly different to how his fit would have been. Maybe again, Phil, you could talk more about that. But I think science generally is quite looking for something looking for a cope hook. We're always looking for a cope to try and find a way through. Yeah, and ergonomics in general. We sit the same way all day long, and then we sit on the bike. I've said that before, but ergonomics in general, you might have seen on websites and given by a GP or something like that. After an ergonomic assessment, your elbows have to be like 90 degrees. The screen has to be so far and so high. Your back has to be in a certain position, and you get this diagram with loads of angles and everything like it, and they're giving it, okay, that's your ergonomic posture, and that should help your back pain. Yeah? To me, that's bullshit. That's science that making things bullshit, because your next posture is your best posture, and if you just keep stuck in one position, you are going to get back pain totally. Yeah? So you want to keep moving all the time, so you need to be flexible around it. So our bike should allow us to do that. Similarly, scientifically, an MRI scan, that everyone relies on MRIs far too much. Yeah, it's not a dynamic picture; it's a static picture of a dynamic problem. So really, what clue is that giving us? So I think something that's out there, everyone's measures. An MRI is a really important thing. Sure, it is. It gives us lots of information, but it's not the answer to everything. Yeah. First thing you do when you get injured on a football pitch these days, Premiership, get an MRI scan. Oh, maybe an ultrasound might have been better. Yeah. There's always other tools you could kind of use. So use those sort of scenarios as an explanation of how a bike fit should be dynamic as well, in my view. And really, is it really a fit they're after, or are they just really not fit enough to be on their bike? Yeah. And some people are really different. Some people, just a little fine tweak makes a subtle difference, and then others can ride for miles and miles and are at what we would say a really poor posture and get no pain. So is that wrong? Is that wrong? Yeah. Let's debate it. Yeah, it's good. But for me, proper preparation equals performance, and despite all this assessment stuff, if you haven't got good inherent core strength, good flexibility, understanding of cycling and things like that, conditioning, you're going to inherently get problems. So we need to keep looking at these sort of things and keep treating those sort of things. Gluteals, core, pelvic area, they're all the sort of things we're looking at. Self-help, flexibility, we use a lot of TPT kits, trigger point therapy kits. I recommend that to a lot of my cyclists, just try and keep them loose. But the perfect fit has to be changed with the flexibility as it changes as well. Yeah? So if you're encouraging flexibility, you should encourage them to keep changing the fit. So once again, the fit is a fluid system. Yeah. So I think we don't measure enough sometimes the flexibility. We measure hamstring, or we measure glutes, or we measure hip flexors. But is that enough? Should we be measuring other flexibilities? If we're going to be that scientific and say these are the measures, these are the parameters, but then you're asking them to stretch something else, well, something else is going to make a change. So why weren't you measuring that in the first place? So we measure so many things in our fit, but we don't measure every stretch, do we? That would take a long time. So I think it's important, and I think it's really essential to bring in flexibility, but how far do we go? This is the thing that really gets us all, isn't it? Everybody wants to have that bike or something similar, and they start to kind of sabotage the whole fit, because whatever you say, well, I think you should have this, and I think you should take handlebars up right high so we can get your glutes to work. So I have a nice little butcher's bike to cycle on. It'll be really good. No, I need to be down here. Yeah, but your hips haven't got the range, so you can go down here. So you're arguing all the time, aren't you? And if it ends up being an argument, you've lost them. So it has to be an educated argument and a careful discussion, and it has to be fluid. And they have to understand the idea of cycle fit, bike fit, as do you. And this is again where it becomes a little bit give and take, because you've got to give them a bit of what they want. Otherwise, they're off to see one of the other two wise men. And mentally, I think using the fit to educate them to be realistic and adaptable will help them with their recovery, and certainly will help their motivation. And certainly, I think it's one of the best rehab tools I've got for people that are cycle-minded. If you can get them on the bike quickly as a physiotherapist and work with a fitter, and work with the physio, work with the fitter together, you will get a far quicker result as a physio by using Cyclefit, if it's a fluid system, to go through, rather than working off the bike, and once they're relatively pain-free, then stick them on the bike. When they're ready, you've pissed them off, they've been waiting around for ages, they've deconditioned, so you need to fit and adapt. So I think it's a fantastic rehab tool. It's not used enough as a rehab tool. It's more an assessment and identification, but you can correct me on this. Maybe you guys are all rehabbing using your systems. So I thought I'd show you a few ideas and bizarre ideas. Any ideas in this one? I'm only going to say 150, 180. That's the only clue you're getting. So shout out a few things going on here. I'm going to keep playing this. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, there's a bit of a problem with the shoulder on the right there, There's definitely a scoliosis going on there, Has he got one arm or two arms? What do you guys reckon? Something's not right, is it? How are you going to fit this guy? What is 150, 180 mean? Shall I give you a clue there? That's crank length. Alright, so now what do you think is going on? Now you know that is the crank length, left and right. Massive leg length discrepancy, absolutely. Alright, so this guy's a polio victim. He's got an 85mm leg length discrepancy. Alright, so just put a couple of Le Mans wedges in there, you'll be fine. Yeah, he stands on a short leg, on his toe. He's always done it all his life. So he's never ever put his heel down, he's never had boots or shoes that helps him. I think I got him to see you guys, didn't I? He's always set his bike up himself. He changed his cranks himself. This is his own idea. It wasn't Jules or Phil's idea. And And yeah, he's ridden for miles like this, and years like this. So if you change him dramatically, one, he's not going to be very happy, but you do have to change something here, don't you? Or do you not?
Is he in pain?
Sorry? No, he's not in any pain. He just wants to get faster. Well, he's in pain. He's in pain all the time, but relatively, he just wants to get faster.
It looks like there's a few mils you can get. Sort of got leg length and stuff, expressing leg length discrepancy.
Well, what we did with him, and we did get him faster with it. It's all relative, obviously. I don't think he's in the GDB team, but we just worked on his glutes, and we worked on his hip flexors. And so we stretched out hip flexors vigorously, daily, really hard. Got him to actually move his rear section, and his very weak one-side glute actually started getting a little bit stronger. But as far as a fit, you remember what you did? On the drops, he's pretty low, yeah. Yeah. But I think he did something like 100 miles a weekend, didn't he?
He did that, then you've done a great.
Yeah.
Would it help if it's a bit more support his feet?
As I said, there's so much you could do here. Yeah. So I mean, the answer can't be no to any of these. Yeah, really.
Everything we did was a failure. We tried new shoes, we tried stacks, we tried everything we tried. In the end, there was no biting input other than there was only physio.
Yeah.
Everything we did, he rejected.
The problem you've got also is that you've got somebody essentially who wants to go faster. Technically, I know he's got pain, but if that's lifestyle, normality of pain, and it's not exacerbated by it, and therefore clinically, you wouldn't really treat it.
That's the way I looked at it completely. I just improved his conditioning and his body efficiency a bit. Say again?
When you say that it's leg length, why have you not measured up the difference between your style lengths and your lower leg lengths?
Yes, he was very short in his femur, particularly. Well, that was his suggestion, but he did his 12 years before we saw him.
If you see he didn't like any change, you make that because he's used to that position, and any change you make feels weird to him. Then he doesn't give it a chance to adapt to it.
You know what? I think he did. I think, as I remember, it's going back a many years. I think he did the lands on the Durham Groves with his few mates, and he had to keep up with them. And I think at the end of it, I think he sent back shoes, the stack, the pebbles, and everything in a box, didn't he? Yeah. All second hand. He'd ridden like 1,000 miles. The 15 club. So, in those circumstances, you're so far out of your comfort zone that you're just throwing, there's no protocol there, is there?
That psychological barrier, though, is totally physical one. That he's kind of set off.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. The only good work that went on there, in his estimation, our work was rubbish, nonsense. Graham's work had some value, and he might well be right. Actually, I don't have an opinion about that other than that.
And some can only be the work, can't it? It's not like.
What was his appearance after the program you set him?
Sorry?
In terms of his conditioning one you set him, did he adhere to it?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah.
He travelled up 100 miles a day to see, didn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't local.
He lived out in...
Wasn't local at all.
So he's like open to just something like your tick box for him.
Yeah, I think if we appreciate what he's got, I mean, it's like working with Paralympians. You don't have the same baseline to work on. Yeah. Do you work with the Paralympian teams at all, you guys? Yeah. So do you find problems similar? Not same, obviously.
The process is you've got to let people adapt. Like I say, God's given them a certain condition, and but you've got to work with what you've got. And it's hard to change those people quickly, and the coaches know more often.
Yep.
Most of our athletes in the Paralympic provide disease or cerebral palsy, and cerebral palsy is far harder
Totally.
Right there, it's not a system that works for them. No one failed. He came to you and asked you to make it better. It's not failed. And you tried.
And my point from using him as an example is don't try and fit a system into a client. Yeah? Fit the client into the system.
Do you not find with a lot of cyclists who come to see you with a problem that all they do is cycle and they do no conditioning?
Totally. 90%. 99%. Yeah. Yeah.
We have this cyclists as well, and it's a special challenge because once you get into the physical assessment, you realise that in the ordinary course of event, you send them off for some conditioning or some patient. It's an underlying condition to be out of your heart. So I think it's a special challenge for a physician to work around what you've got.
Yeah.
And
It might be special, but I think even us relatively able-bodied guys, need quite a lot of work on certain things that are not traditional, fit things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just to know how long you've been treating him. Are you still treating him? How long?
No. He had an aim to do the Marmot, had the aim, and so he came to us for that time. He's travelling a long distance. But keep in touch with him email-wise. He's still doing the exercises, still stretching, still feeling much looser in that hip. He's not feeling kind of wedged in all the time.
So in that build-up to the Marmot, how many times do you think you've seen him treated at that time?
I was lucky at the time. I had a student with me, so it was great. It's easy, free treatment for him, and so it was 3 times a week.
Yeah, we didn't charge him either.
Yeah, but normally I wouldn't treat that much. I can't afford to treat that people that much.
that's a sort of good point. They didn't come to see us, physios or physios, whatever, and they sort of come to expect to have a result at the end. And we're saying that sometimes you can't help people, not for our own fault, just they can't help. And they just put in charge of this. Mark, we're all these kind of businesses. How do you then approach that? Not help them, and then come for help. And in their eyes, you've not done the job.
Well, that's why in the first sentence when you meet them, when you're talking about what a fit is, you've got to say it's a fluid process. Yeah, it's not a one event. Yeah, and if they don't understand that, you can't really go any further because they will just say, oh, well, so why am I not better now? Yeah, and it's very fluid. Here's another one for you. What's this one? Just look at that left hip at the top there. Sorry, it's a bit sluggish. Not corseway. Yeah. Knees coming out at the top. This came the other way around. This came from the fit to us. Yeah. And thought it was a back problem. Quite rightly. Looked at it. Did lots of orthopaedic testing. Yeah, a little bit abnormal, but not as obvious as some back pains would be. Yeah, there was no obvious SI joint involvement. Lumbar spine off the bike, extended positions, pretty good. In flex positions, a little tougher. So it's only in flexion when they get the problem. So to me, everything. There was definitely a mechanical problem going on in the back, but it didn't seem quite right. Didn't seem quite normal. Got some notes here about him. No, he's kind of moving the saddle, wasn't he, a bit? Yeah. So he kept on coming back to you time after time saying, I want a more aggressive posture, I'm getting left behind by the pack of my mates.
Yeah. He is a racer, and he is racing, and he was racing, and he used to get whipped by his colleagues because we had to keep him in a fairly non-racing type position to try and control that external rotation.
So he hated that because he wanted to be much more aerodynamic, he wanted to be faster, and we were both saying, well, no, you've got to work your glutes, take the pressure off your back, mechanically something going on there. But because mechanically and first couple of treatments weren't really making any jot of difference, and I had a suspicion of something, I sent him off for more investigation, and actually there was a tumour in the spine. Now that's something we as physios do meet fairly regularly, yeah. But as fitters, are you looking out for that? Yeah, and so it's like your first offence, your first attack for this. So it's always got to have a questioning mind and things like that. It's not always, oh, it's just a bit of back pain, live with it, you'll be okay. Yeah, I mean, we can talk a lot about people like this. Yeah, I'm just trying to highlight that not everything is as it seems. Let's try another one. No video for you this time. This is the information I'll give you. What's his problem? The physios in the room might have a better idea than none, but let's see. Came in with discomfort in his right leg, a heavy feeling in the leg after 20-30 minutes of riding. Pain was mostly around the knee. Good question, but no. Pain mostly around the knee. Internal rotation of femur on downstroke, so we're thinking, oh, maybe patellofemoral. Numbness over right sacroiliac joint after riding, maybe back pain. Occasional tingling in the feet, maybe hot shoe, maybe vascular, maybe neural. Supinated right foot, maybe foot biomechanical. Weak right glutes and Trendelenburg, maybe weakness. Old crush injury, oh, that's got to be it. That's got to be something to do with that. Well, there's a lot of things there that are not matching up. Yeah, agreed, totally.
Maybe not just one thing.
Yeah. So, a further assessment, we again thought, okay, there's some SI joint stiffness, but not everything's kind of fitting here. There's too much cloudiness. Again, not enough exact science here. So we did a vascular bite test on him. Yeah, so you're cold is a good scenario. I thought because he wasn't cold, he's probably not vascular, but they're not always. And sure enough, yeah, his dorsal pedis, on the foot, soleus pedis was absent on the right after 9 minutes. It returned. Popliteal pulse also gone, absent, and the femoral was absent and returned in 7 minutes. So we knew. Sorry? Compressed femoral. Yeah. But it actually went on further than that. He then actually physically carried on working, and from an old trauma and scar from actually just stretching out at one point, he'd actually torn the aorta, and he was in for the day we sent to a vascular surgeon. Next day he had AAA heart bypass. So every client could be that one. And that's 36.
He came from Jules originally.
Yeah, it's his fault. Jules' fault. He was fine until Jules soon.
Wedges in round the wrong way.
Frequent issue.
But, the point I'm trying to make with both these things is, you are the first line assessors, and you play a real important role in recognising all sorts of problems. Yeah. Now, if that's outside your remit, fine. But find somebody who is inside your remit. So maybe I'm waving my flag for physiotherapy is important in the fit process. Yes, I am. But what I'm saying is teamwork is really important in the fit process. And what I'm saying is don't just stick by numbers and, this is your fit and this is, why you're not getting better. Done it right, Don't take that approach. And I'm sure we're not all doing that. That's why we're here, because we want to learn how people interact and work together. If it's that certain something that isn't quite right, it probably isn't. There probably is something big that is wrong. And I think that's what's